Again, Big U, his son Baby Huey, or Big Huey, right? He was assassinated last night on Halloween out there in LA.
The streets of Los Angeles are shaken once again, not by music, not by movement, but by mourning. The news of Big U's son's tragic passing hit like a lightning strike through the West Coast community. What was once a story of mentorship, history, and legacy has now turned into something darker, as some of Nipsey Hussle's old affiliates began mocking the situation online. To many, this was the ultimate sign of how fractured the relationships in South Central have become since Nipsey's death. What was once unity and brotherhood has now dissolved into bitterness, silence, and coded disrespect that can be felt across social media and the neighborhoods that raised these men. For those unfamiliar with the deep history, Big U, real name Eugene Henley, was once one of the most respected figures in Los Angeles street politics.
When Nipsey died, right? When Nipsey got killed, we probably had about 375, 400 kids that was in our program. And I had the travel basketball team. We had a contract with Adidas that was worth about $3 million that Kanye West gave us.
Wow.
And then I had like a bunch of other different contracts and for a nonprofit. We were really thriving. Then Nipsey gets killed. Well, after Nipsey get killed, then the rumor goes out, Big U had something to do. We lost everything.
You lost all those?
Everyone, I tell you everything.
Wow.
Kanye stopped answering the phone. Adidas stopped answering the phone. And I ended up almost going dead broke because we already committed.
He was a mentor, a connector, and at one time one of Nipsey's earliest and most influential supporters. Together, they built groundwork that would later turn Nipsey from a Crenshaw legend into a global icon. But as fame rose, business lines blurred, and loyalty was tested, cracks began to show. Their partnership quietly fell apart long before the tragic 2019 shooting that took Nipsey from the world. And since then, the tension between Big U and Nipsey's remaining circle has never fully healed. When news of Big U's son's death surfaced, what followed shocked even the most hardened corners of the internet. Instead of silence, sympathy, or solidarity, some voices linked to Nipsey's old crew were seen online posting cryptic messages that many interpreted as taunts. Tweets, Instagram stories, and live streams started circulating, with comments that hinted at karma and energy coming full circle. To outsiders, it looked like petty drama, but for those who know the layers of history between these men, it was something far more complicated, a deep reflection of the scars left behind after fame, betrayal, and tragedy collided in Los Angeles.
And the person who killed Nipsey Hussle has been convicted of the murder. Big U's name never came up in the trial.
Not a call log, not a
nothing. Not a nothing. You would think that in a case this serious where you're facing life in prison, if it really was a murder for hire, like people are trying to say it is, which is nonsense, that person would probably come forward.
The reaction wasn't just limited to Nipsey's side either. Other figures from the streets and the industry stepped in, condemning the posts and calling for respect during a time of loss. But even as some tried to calm the situation, others couldn't resist stirring the pot. In the era of viral moments and constant online exposure, nothing stays sacred for long. What used to be settled in private now becomes public spectacle. And when the names involved are this powerful, Big U, Nipsey, and the extended Crenshaw legacy, the noise spreads beyond LA. What made this moment even more surreal was that Big U himself stayed quiet. No rants, no retaliation, no direct responses, just silence. That silence spoke volumes. It showed that even someone as seasoned as him understood the weight of perception in times like these. Because for all the history, pain, and betrayal that's existed, this moment wasn't just about losing a family member. It was about how the world reacts when one of the pillars of the city is brought to his knees by grief.
All this is nonsense. Me and Big U even had a conversation about it. And I said, man, I'm sorry you're getting dragged into this fake storyline. Not that I have anything to do with it, because I've never interviewed Loose Cannon or anything else like that. But I just as someone I'm cool with, I said, I'm sorry that this is the story that's going out and people are running with it, because I remember every conversation I've ever had with Big U, he's always spoken positively about Nipsey. Every time. Our interview, nothing negative about Nipsey.
Yeah.
Personal conversations, nothing negative about Nipsey ever.
Yeah.
As word spread about the mocking posts, the backlash grew fast. Fans, community members, and even older OGs began calling out the disrespect online. Screenshots flooded Twitter and Reddit, each one dissecting who said what, when, and why. Some of the comments were vague enough to maintain deniability, but everyone knew what was being implied. In an environment where loyalty means everything, seeing members from Nipsey's old circle seemingly celebrating another man's pain, especially one who helped shape Nipsey's rise, left a bitter taste in the mouths of those who knew the real story. The streets started talking heavy. Conversations from South Central to Inglewood echoed the same sentiment. The code's been lost. Because in the old days, even between rivals, there was a line you didn't cross when it came to family and death. But now, with clout chasing and online bravado replacing real-life respect, that line seems erased. To mock a man while he's mourning his son was viewed by many as a new low, even in a culture where public beefs have become entertainment. The people watching weren't just disappointed, they were disturbed. Behind the scenes, those close to Big U were reportedly furious but cautious.
I mean, it is what it is as far as this is how the streets go, but Baby Huey, I ain't gonna hold you. Solid dude. Like, as young as he was, if you actually met him, he actually seemed way older. Kel was solid, like straight, solid dude. Now some of y'all be, well, he was in the street. He didn't operate like that. He wasn't operating out here like no goofy. Let me just flat out put that out there.
The OG has a reputation for strategic patience, handling things through influence rather than reaction. But this situation was different. It wasn't about business or industry power moves, it was about something deeply personal. And that's why the whispers started, that there could be unseen consequences if the disrespect continued. No one knows what moves, if any, were made behind the scenes, but one thing was clear. LA was holding its breath. Meanwhile, some of Nipsey's former affiliates defended themselves, claiming their posts were taken out of context. They argued that people online twisted their words and that they never intended to mock anyone's pain. But that defense fell flat once the tone and timing of those messages were analyzed. To the public, it didn't look like coincidence. It looked calculated. And in the culture of Los Angeles, perception often becomes reality. This controversy brought back long-buried questions about what really caused the rift between Nipsey and Big U in the first place.
I don't want to pay that $20,000.
Old interviews resurfaced where Nipsey subtly distanced himself from his former mentor, citing differences in direction. At the same time, Big U had previously spoken about loyalty and betrayal without naming names, letting the audience connect the dots. Those old clips now re-emerged, giving fans new context to an old feud that many assumed was already put to rest. For the younger generation of fans who only know the surface of these relationships, this situation served as a reminder. Behind the fame, plaques, and headlines, these are still men shaped by environments where respect is currency and betrayal has a price. And once again, the line between grief and vengeance, between pain and pride, was being tested in real time. The fallout from this incident highlighted something bigger than just a few online posts. It exposed the long-standing fractures within Los Angeles street and music culture. Ever since Nipsey's death, unity has been a buzzword, but in practice, the divisions have never been wider. The tension between different sets, former friends, and rival camps has quietly simmered, occasionally boiling over into the public eye. This latest situation involving Big U's loss only magnified how deep those wounds go. In South Central, respect for Big U runs deep. He's been part of community programs, outreach initiatives, and efforts to steer the youth away from the same paths that trapped generations before them. But his influence also comes with history, a reputation built in an era when structure mattered and reputation meant survival. That same history makes him both respected and feared. And for Nipsey's camp, that dynamic has always been complicated. They once shared goals, building economic power, empowering the streets, changing the narrative for young black men. But their falling out fractured that mission in ways the public never fully saw.
I feel like they had whatever differences they had when Nip was alive and they got over that shit. I've been around for a minute, so I don't feel like that even carried on to, you know what I mean? Like, that's a crazy, just imagine you raising this young dude, y'all fall out about some.
When the mocking post surfaced, it wasn't just about disrespect toward a grieving father. To many, it symbolized the ongoing struggle for control of the narrative. Who really carried Nipsey's vision after his death? Who gets credit for what he built? And who holds the right to speak on his name? That invisible tug of war has defined the post-Nipsey era in Los Angeles. Different camps have claimed to carry his message, yet they often end up working against each other instead of together. Several voices in the city, including artists, activists, and local leaders, have urged for peace and compassion. They've called out both sides, reminding everyone that the world is watching, but social media doesn't heal, it amplifies. Every live stream, every post, every comment adds another spark to the fire. The problem is, once things go viral, it's impossible to put the energy back in the box. At the heart of it all is pain, years of built-up tension, betrayal, and grief that's never been properly addressed. For many close to Nipsey, losing him was already an open wound. For Big U, losing his son is another kind of unimaginable pain. Instead of healing together, both sides have chosen silence or shade, and that silence keeps the streets.
I want to talk about, Big U. His son was assassinated last night out there in LA. Absolutely nasty work, man. Again, Big U, his son, Baby Huey, or Big Huey, right? He was assassinated last night on Halloween out there in LA.
Behind the closed doors of the city, people are picking sides again, and it's beginning to feel like the unity Nipsey died fighting for is slipping further away. One of the biggest reasons this story has exploded is because of how quickly the internet amplifies conflict. Back in the day, disputes like this stayed in the neighborhood. They spread by word of mouth, not Wi-Fi. Now, a single story post or cryptic tweet can reach millions within hours. Screenshots spread faster than statements, and algorithms reward drama. For Big U, a man from a generation where problems were handled face-to-face, the digital circus surrounding his tragedy must feel surreal. What's even more troubling is how the online audience plays into the chaos. People dissect every post, edit videos for clicks, and create narratives that might not even be real. Once something catches momentum, it becomes nearly impossible to stop. What might have been a few insensitive posts has now evolved into a cultural conversation about loyalty, grief, and hypocrisy. It's a perfect storm. Pain turned into content, loss turned into spectacle. But not everyone is sitting back for the entertainment. Several veterans of the LA scene, including producers, promoters, and street organizers, have spoken up, urging everyone to stop feeding the negativity. They've reminded both sides that Nipsey's original mission was about empowerment, not division. The irony of this situation is painful. The same community that once united under a message of growth is now eating itself alive online. There's also a generational gap at play. The younger voices in Nipsey's circle are part of an era where social media clout matters more than silence. But to the older heads like Big U, respect is shown by restraint. This clash of worlds, digital pride versus real-world principles, has turned into the heart of the conflict. Neither side seems to understand the other fully, and in that confusion, the internet finds endless fuel. Every new day brings another wave of speculation. Fake accounts post false stories. YouTube channels recycle the drama with exaggerated headlines. Before long, people start believing fiction over fact. And while fans debate who's right and who's wrong, two families are still grieving in real life. One for a son, one for a brother, and one for a bond that will likely never return. What happens next depends on who chooses maturity over momentum. Because once a story like this gets legs, it can shape reputations, reopen old wounds, and reignite conflicts that should have died years ago. The culture deserves better than to see two sides from the same legacy tearing each other apart for views and validation. In the end, this situation isn't just another story about beef or betrayal. It's about what happens when pain, ego, and pride collide under the spotlight of fame. The mocking of Big U's tragedy by individuals tied to Nipsey's legacy serves as a sad reflection of how far hip-hop culture has drifted from its code of respect. Once the streets valued loyalty above everything, now too often pain is posted for engagement. But through all the noise, there's still a chance for reflection, a chance to remember what these men stood for before everything went wrong. Nipsey Hussle built a legacy rooted in empowerment, education, and ownership. Big U dedicated years to rebuilding his community and guiding young people away from the same traps he once fell into. Their shared history may be scarred, but their goals were once aligned. Somewhere along the way, the industry, the fame, and the egos turned that bond into rivalry. Yet in moments like this, when loss strikes again, there's an opportunity to rise above it. The same influence that spreads drama can also spread healing if used differently. Those who truly represent the Crenshaw legacy, from the Marathon brand to community figures on the ground, are calling for peace. They're reminding everyone that the world already took enough from this city. Another war, another feud, another cycle of disrespect only takes more. And while Big U has remained silent, that silence carries power. It shows restraint, control, and awareness that not everything deserves a reaction. Sometimes the greatest response to disrespect is dignity. For now, Louisiana waits. The streets are watching closely, hoping this doesn't escalate further. Because what's at stake isn't just one man's reputation, it's the message Nipsey left behind. If that message of unity and growth is to mean anything, it has to start with the people who helped build it. Whatever happens next, this moment will be remembered as a turning point, a test of character for everyone involved. The question is whether the city will keep letting grief turn into gossip, or finally learn that silence, respect, and empathy are stronger than any social media post. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Celeb Vibe for more stories from the heart of hip-hop, where truth, legacy, and loyalty collide with the reality of fame. Because behind every headline, there's a story that deserves to be told with respect.